The cafeteria of Maplewood Elementary buzzed with chatter, papers rustling as parents compared notes and whispered. But when James Walker, a weary single dad, walked in holding his daughter Lily's hand, the room shifted. Moments later, Lily spoke, and her words hit so hard the teacher nearly lost consciousness, while every parent fell silent in an instant. Before we dive in, drop a comment with where you're watching from, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this. Let's begin. The town of Maplewood carried the scent of harvest in September, burning leaves, football games under weak lights, and the restless buzz of a new school year. James Walker, 36, trudged home from the lumber mill with sawdust still in his hair and exhaustion deep in his eyes. He worked nights driving a delivery van, too, which meant 3 hours of sleep if he was lucky. Pinned to the fridge was a crumpled flyer, Parent-Teacher Night, Thursday, 6:30 p.m. His daughter Lily had drawn a smiley face in the corner with pink marker and written, "Don't miss this, Daddy." James let out a weary laugh. Forgetting was impossible. But he also remembered the last time he sat in that cafeteria. The other parents had whispered about his patched flannel, his scuffed boots, his missing wedding ring. He'd felt smaller than a shadow that night. Still, when Lily looked up at him with that unshakable grin, he told her the only truth he knew: "I'll be there. No matter what." What James didn't know was that this night would not just change how people saw him. It would unearth a past mistake, test the loyalty of those around him, and force him to decide whether standing tall was worth the risk of falling harder. Thursday evening arrived colder than James expected, the kind of September chill that hinted at an early winter. He wore his cleanest shirt, though the cuffs were frayed, and laced-up boots that had seen better years. Lily walked beside him, her backpack bouncing, humming a tune as if the night were a celebration. Inside Maplewood Elementary's cafeteria, the air buzzed with conversation. Parents compared vacation plans and music lessons, their laughter echoing under fluorescent lights. James felt the weight of their glances before anyone spoke. "There he is again," someone whispered. "Working himself into the ground, shame the girl has so little." James clenched his jaw, focusing only on Lily's hand in his. She didn't notice the stares. She marched straight to her teacher, Mrs. Green, who wore a warm smile but eyes clouded with something heavier. "Mr. Walker," she said gently. "We'll be sharing something special tonight. I think you should stay near the front." Confused, James nodded, settling into a metal chair that wobbled under his weight. The chatter swelled, but then Lily stepped forward clutching a folded paper, her voice clear as a bell. "My hero is my dad. He works so much, he hardly sleeps. If I had a wish, it would be for him to rest, just one whole night. Because I need him strong." The cafeteria froze. Whispers died instantly. Even Mrs. Green, who had prepared the assignment, sat down hard in her chair, stunned silent. For a long moment, the only sound in the cafeteria was the hum of the soda machine. James's ears rang with the silence his daughter's words had created. Parents who once whispered shifted uncomfortably, unable to meet his eyes. Mrs. Green rose slowly, holding a thick envelope. Her voice shook. "Mr. Walker. I need you to see this." She handed it to him, and James felt its weight like it carried bricks. He tore it open, rough fingers scraping the flap. Inside was a letter written in careful cursive: "I've nominated Lily Walker for the Maplewood Rising Scholars Award, a district program that covers private tutoring, mentorship, supplies, and even a summer institute." Her essay wasn't about herself. It was about you. James's knees nearly gave. "Scholarship," he whispered. Gasps rippled through the parents. One man in a blazer muttered, "That's wasted on him." Before James could respond, Mrs. Green's voice hardened. "No. Lily earned this. And sometimes, all it takes is one door opening to change an entire family's future." As James clutched the letter, he noticed another face watching him, Ethan Price, a wealthy businessman and father of two. His expression wasn't mockery this time. It was something else. Something calculating. The meeting wound down, parents filing out in uneasy silence. James gripped Lily's hand, still reeling from the scholarship letter. For the first time in years, hope didn't feel like a cruel joke. But in the cool night air of the parking lot, a sharp voice called out, "Mr. Walker." It was Ethan Price, the man in the navy blazer, polished shoes gleaming under the streetlight. He strode forward, extending his hand. James hesitated before taking it. "I owe you an apology," Ethan said. "I've judged you unfairly. What your daughter said tonight, it cut deeper than I expected." He slipped a card into James's pocket. "I run Price Hauling. We need someone to oversee fleet maintenance. Steady hours. Benefits. Triple what you make now." James's breath caught. The offer was everything he'd been praying for. But Ethan leaned closer, lowering his voice. "I've read your name before. You used to work at Dalton Lumber, didn't you? Walked out after filing a safety complaint that cost the company thousands." James stiffened. His past had followed him. Ethan's smile sharpened. "I admire a man who speaks his mind. But men like you, whistleblowers, can also be difficult. Work for me, and I'll make sure no one else remembers that file." It wasn't just an offer. It was leverage. That night James sat at the kitchen table, the card from Ethan Price lying between unpaid bills. The words "steady hours, benefits, triple the pay" echoed like a siren. He pictured Lily's face, new books, a real backpack instead of the patched one she carried, dinners they could eat together instead of him stumbling home after midnight. But Ethan's other words clung tighter, "I'll make sure no one remembers that file." James knew exactly what that meant. Years ago, he'd exposed broken saw guards at Dalton Lumber after a coworker nearly lost his arm. The company blacklisted him quietly, and odd jobs were all he'd managed since. Now Ethan was dangling salvation, with strings. Lily padded into the kitchen in her pajamas, clutching her sketchbook. "Daddy, look," she said sleepily, showing him a drawing of the two of them on a porch swing. "That's us when you don't have to work all the time." James's throat burned. He kissed her forehead, tucking her back into bed. When he returned to the table, the card still waited. Salvation, or a trap? The kind of deal that could buy him peace, or chain him tighter than before. James showed up at Price Hauling 2 days later, the card burning in his pocket like a brand. The office sat on the edge of town, glass doors fronting rows of trucks lined up like soldiers. Ethan greeted him with that same polished smile. "Glad you came, Walker. Let's take a tour." At first it looked ordinary, mechanics bent over engines, drivers laughing over coffee. But James's instincts prickled. He spotted inspection tags weeks out of date, bald tires rolling off the lot, and a mechanic whispering, "Keep it moving, don't ask." Ethan clapped a hand on his shoulder. "Here's the deal, you keep the fleet running, no questions. In return, I make sure your daughter never worries about a thing again." That night, James lay awake staring at the ceiling. He remembered Dalton Lumber, the cost of speaking up, the years of scraping by. But he also remembered his coworker's mangled hand and the silence that nearly buried it. Lily stirred in the next room, mumbling in her sleep. He thought of her words, "My wish is for Daddy to rest." Rest, yes. But what kind of rest? The kind bought by silence, or the kind earned by doing what was right? The choice loomed, heavier than any overtime shift he'd ever carried. By his second week at Price Hauling, James already felt the weight of compromise. The pay was real, the hours steady. For the first time, he could pick Lily up after school and still have daylight left. She beamed when he showed up, and that alone nearly silenced his doubts. Nearly. Late one evening, while finishing paperwork, James found a folder half buried under invoices. The pages weren't routine maintenance logs. They were falsified inspection reports, signed with his name, though he'd never written them. Heart pounding, he scanned the dates. Trucks listed as cleared had brakes marked dangerous in earlier notes. One of those trucks was still on the road. Ethan appeared in the doorway, calm as ever. "I see you found my insurance policy." His voice was smooth, but cold. "You play along, Walker, or that file will be the end of you. And if the scholarship board hears about your troublemaker history, well, Lily's chances might vanish overnight." James felt fire rising in his chest, but fear tangled with it. For the first time in years, he had stability. He had a future carved open for Lily. But now it came with a shadow that threatened to swallow them both. James sat in his truck outside Maplewood Elementary, the falsified report stuffed in a battered folder on the passenger seat. His hands shook on the wheel. One call to the state inspector could blow the whole thing wide open, but it could also cost him his job, his reputation, and Lily's scholarship. When the final bell rang, Mrs. Green walked out with Lily at her side. She noticed James's pale face instantly. "Mr. Walker, are you all right?" He almost said yes. Instead, he handed her the folder. "Take a look." In the teacher's lounge, she flipped through the pages, her brow furrowing. "These signatures, they're forged. And if these trucks are on the road," her voice trailed off, horrified. James rubbed his face. "Price knows about my past at Dalton. He's using this to keep me quiet. If I speak, he'll crush me. But if I don't, people could die." Mrs. Green shut the folder with a snap. "James, you've already taught your daughter what it means to be a hero. Now you need to prove it to yourself." He looked at her, stunned. Teachers weren't supposed to carry burdens like this. But she met his gaze without flinching. "You're not alone in this." For the first time since Ethan's offer, James felt something stronger than fear, resolve. James couldn't sleep. The forged reports haunted him, each page a reminder of lives riding on broken brakes. With Mrs. Green's encouragement, he called the state inspector's office the next morning. His voice shook as he gave the details, but when he hung up, a strange calm settled in his chest. For once, he had done the right thing without compromise. That calm didn't last. 2 nights later, his old pickup was vandalized, windows smashed, tires slashed. A note was tucked under the wiper: "Quiet men sleep well. Loud men don't." Lily found the truck before he did, her eyes wide with fear. "Daddy, who would do this?" James swallowed hard, forcing steadiness into his voice. "Just cowards, baby. Cowards always hide in the dark." But Ethan Price didn't hide. He cornered James in the lot at work the next day, his smile gone. "State inspectors. That was you, wasn't it? You think your word means more than mine? You'll lose your job, your daughter's chance, everything." James stood taller than he felt, his heart thundering. "Maybe. But I won't lose myself." For the first time, Ethan's face flickered with uncertainty. And James knew, this fight wasn't over. Price hauling collapsed within weeks of the investigation. Ethan was indicted, his empire in ruins. For James, the days that followed were uncertain: odd jobs, short paychecks, and whispers of troublemaker chasing him again. But this time, something was different. The town had seen his courage. Parents who once looked down on him now stopped him on Main Street, thanking him for keeping their families safe. One morning, the principal of Maplewood High called. "We're expanding our vocational program: auto mechanics, welding, trucking. We need someone who knows the work, but also what it means to stand up when it matters. Would you consider it?" James blinked, stunned. Teaching? He'd never imagined it. But when he walked into the shop classroom, the smell of grease and steel felt like home. And when the students gathered around, eager to learn, he realized something deeper. Here, his hard years and honesty weren't stains, they were lessons. That night, Lily climbed onto his lap with her sketchbook. She'd drawn him in front of a chalkboard, smiling, kids around him. Above it she wrote, "My dad finally found his place." James swallowed the lump in his throat. For the first time in years, he had steady hours, honest work, and a purpose bigger than himself. He wasn't just surviving anymore. He was building a future, and he was exactly where he belonged. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more stories that stay with you.